So the next MLA micro lecture, moving on from migraine, even more common is tension headache. Everyone has had tension headache, and it can be really hard to treat because the conditions that produce tension headache are the problem, not really there aren't really ways to take that away. So it's often a tight vice-like band around the front of the head. People feel strain around the eyes. Remember that everybody has this sort of posture nowadays. That really brings on tension headache. You know, people need to get their head up and their neck back and sort of get a good posture. Some people actually get a lot of pain around the back of the head, particularly if they get a sore neck. The greater occipital protuberances, so those kind of bony bits at the back of the head, lots of people get that goes all the way around. So poor posture, immobility if you've got a desk job, if you grind your teeth or your jaw is very tense because you're stressed, that's a part of it as well. And just some people are still incredibly tender here and here, you know, all the muscles going down the sternocleidomastoids and their deltoids and their shoulder blades are just super tense and super tight, and they take painkillers. And they take painkillers and they take painkillers. And the more you take painkillers, paracetamol, codeine, the more painkiller headache you develop, analgesia overuse headache. So you get this horrible vicious cycle of somebody being miserable because they've got a headache and they've probably got a bad neck and they've got a bad posture, so they take more painkillers, and it just escalates into this horrible arms race. So what you really need here is a history and examination, and I commonly examine around the head and neck, and I think that's really helpful. I don't think that's invariable for neurologists. Generally they would just do cranial nerves and make sure there's no peripheral, make sure there's no long tract signs, but I think it's really helpful to palpate around these muscles. And if people are super tight and have pain and it reproduces things, we press on the back of the head and that reproduces things, that's really helpful. It demonstrates that this is a muscle tension origin. Remember your ESR and your IO pressures in those over 50, and look for the pulsatile temporal pulses. If there's a really thickened kind of woody vessel and you can't feel the pulse, worry about temporal arteritis. And the old saying is, don't let the sun set on a suspected giant cell arteritis. Make sure you treat them if you suspect it, because they can go blind unpredictably and that vision isn't coming back. In terms of evidence for tension headache, amitriptyline can improve sleep, and that has the best evidence, but then it's acupuncture, improving posture, reducing stress, gentle exercise. So people always talk about swimming, but remember, swimming is good if you can swim and you can sort of align your body and your head is down in the water and you're swimming. If you have your head up like that, kind of out of the water, keeping your hair dry, that's going to aggravate neck stiffness. Maybe things like Pilates and gentle yoga might be better. It can be a really hard sell to people who are stressed, have multiple medical problems. They want a pill. They want a pill to fix this. And analgesia withdrawal is important as well. Again, a really hard sell because the headache will get worse before it gets better over 6 to 8 weeks. But sometimes you can make it happen. And I had somebody who just had the most appalling headache and she was so miserable. This was only a few weeks ago. And I told her, you need to come down off all these painkillers, the codeine, the paracetamol. And she did it. And I rang her after about 8 weeks and she said, I hated you. I called you the worst names. I was swearing at you. And she's like, and then last week I woke up and I had no headache. It was gone. So she had to go through that to become headache free. And there was no medicine I could give her to get her there. And when you get people there, it is really helpful. But remember that it can be really difficult to go through, particularly opioid withdrawal, codeine, and you have to warn people that unfortunately it might get worse before it gets better. There's a little diagram here of the sort of the key points of tension headache. It also can cause significant weight loss. This guy is a skeleton.